The Matrix Resurrection is out. Came out today for everyone to view in theaters and on HBO Max. I unfortunately, not really unfortunately, but I watched it at the comfort of my own home. I wanted to watch it as early as possible. And honestly, I'm glad I did. Being able to watch it in the comfort of my house, pop in some headphones, turn off the lights, and just enjoy the film for what it is. It felt really good. I gotta say, I know this movie is getting a lot of mixed reactions out there. And it's true. The movie is very decisive. It's gonna be heavily opinionated movie. Not everyone's gonna be a fan of it. Some people will enjoy it. Now, where do I stand? To be honest, I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it more probably like a few hours after the film ended. I took a walk and kind of thought about the film a little bit. At first, right after I finished the movie, I told my wife it was good. I told her just the movie was good. But after thinking about it and kind of doing a little self analyzing, I really liked the film. I can't say I liked it more than the very first movie. For those of you who knows, I am a very big fan of the very first Matrix movie. It's by far the best one in my opinion. 2 was good, 3 was great, but 1 was awesome. Now, this movie, where do I rank it at? I say great. Not saying that it's better or worse than part 2, but it was very interesting. A lot more interesting than 2 Matrix Reloaded was for me. And personally, I've recently rewatched the Matrix films, the trilogy. So they were still fresh in my mind, very fresh in my mind when I started watching this film, Matrix Resurrection. Now, I will say the first half of the movie was very interesting. And then I think it's the very first half of the movie is what probably triggered a few people. But then after you hit the midway point, things change and change for the better. I really started enjoying the film a lot more. I was getting excited. I was still in a confused state, but things made a little bit more sense. I felt almost, I don't know how to explain it, at home with the story. In the beginning, I just felt so alienated. I confused and lost. But after a bit, it hit me. And I was starting to get in this ride that I felt familiar with, but also was still confused, lost of where the story was taking me and what do they want with our main protagonist. Now, I'm gonna get into some spoiler stuff, not too heavy, but we're gonna touch a few things. So if you haven't watched the film, please go watch the film before we continue. I say it's definitely worth the watch, regardless if you don't like it or you do like it. If you really, really enjoy the world of the Matrix, I say give it a shot. Without further ado, let's get into some spoiler territories. I really enjoyed the beginning, now more than I first thought when I watched it. The first half starts with Neo, or I my brain is drawing blanks, but Thompson, Miss, yeah, Thompson Anderson, right? That's what his name is. And I know Mr. Anderson, right? Yeah, that him, right? Neo, working as a game dev for a game called, well, I think they have a different game now that they were working on, but they worked on the trilogy, the Matrix trilogy. So essentially, the Matrix movies were games in this quote unquote world that they're living in. Very strange. It really started off making me think, wait, is this actually how it was? This guy was just making up a story and this is where they're going with? But it made perfect sense where that the story was actually going. There was a lot of nostalgia in the beginning, and the nostalgia was nice, But for someone who literally just binge watched the entire trilogy, I was like, the nostalgia is getting in the way of the story right now. Why am I seeing all this nostalgic stuff? I want to see new stuff. But they tied it in kind of nice. It was very strange, but it did, the story did work out at the end. It's kind of hard to explain this because there's so much more, and I'm pretty sure people can explain it a lot better. But, um, wow, the world where the machines were fighting the human, is an actual existing thing. That is the real world. The world where Mr. Anderson was living in was back in the Matrix. Now, it was very confusing at first because if you remember the films, when you're in the Matrix, this fake world created by the machines, there's always a green hue, a slight green hue around that made you think, okay, this is the Matrix. And in this film, when you're in the Matrix, there was no green hue, except everything just seemed perfect. Everything seemed good. Now, Mr. Anderson was dealing with a lot of issues, which makes sense. This is a guy who, in a sense, saved the world, but now is being brainwashed to believe that he's not that guy. That those memories that he has were actually him coming up with a video game and having an issue knowing what's reality and what's not. The Matrix made him believe that that was all dream in a sense. It played with his mind to the point where what was false to him was real, and what was actually real to him was not. Seeing Morpheus pop in front of his face, he believed he was a video game character. No, I created you. You're not real, he said to himself. It felt like an anomaly. Fake. It wasn't really there. But they had to make him choose again. The red pill or the blue pill. And I honestly, when I first saw him, I go, oh man, it's a throwback. It's a homage to the original film. But at the same time, he needed to make the choice again. He was so intertwined in the Matrix, believing that the Matrix was actually real, that he actually almost chose the blue pill. He was really considering it, but he knew the red pill was the right choice. After taking the red pill, he came back, born again out of one of the pods, just like the first film. In that moment, when they show Neo in the pod coming out of that gunk, man, I literally was like, wow, the aesthetics were back from the original film. That very gothic, dark machinery vibe was right back. I felt good, giddy inside, excited actually. And it's very interesting to get that feeling from me because it doesn't happen all too often. But I was setting my brain into thinking about the Matrix and really just getting into it recently, that I felt a stronger connection to that scene. You know, him coming out of the pod yet again. It felt good. It felt real good. And it was interesting to see him get picked up by a machine and then dropped off in a ship. I was like, wait, are the machines helping the human? And yeah, they are. But at the same time, they aren't. I know it's very confusing where I'm going with this if you haven't watched the film, but if you have, you know that the machines still need the humans to survive. They need their their bodies to create power out of. And that's how they've been farming the humans since the get-go. And it's very interesting to see the humans actually find Neo again and trying to rip him out. The movie is just, it's up there for interpretation for anyone, but I felt like because the machines resurrected Neo and Trinity, they're basically saying that these guys were important enough. Well, obviously, without Trinity, there was no Neo, and vice versa. And they knew that they needed Neo. The machines needed Neo just as much as the humans do. Because in the end, it's not that he was the one, but this was the one timeline where they saw future better than ever before. And where were they gonna go with Neo and Trinity? It's still up in the air. But they know, the machines know they needed them. They weren't expecting them to reunite, to escape, to become free again. But they did. At the end of the film, Trinity and Neo were reunited. And the film felt pretty strong there at the end. I don't know how you guys feel. Is there gonna be a continuation? Are we gonna get another trilogy of Matrix films? I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind. As long as the story fits. And this fit. This could be a one-off, a one-time thing where we get one film to just kind of throw us in the loop again of the Matrix, or remind us that the Matrix is a thing. And I will say, I definitely enjoyed it. There's no time like now. I'm hoping that the Matrix Awakens game actually happened. I'm hoping the Matrix kind of has a resurrection in media again. One thing I want to touch about that I know some people may have complained, or I don't know if they've complained too much about it, but didn't come into this film, and I even told my wife before watching the film, I'm now here for the action. I don't think Matrix, a new Matrix, can ever top what they've done in the past. And to be honest, they didn't. The action in this film was great, but it no way in hell made me say, whoa, like I did those many years ago. It was fun. The film was great. What I really wanted from this film was a strong story. And it was actually pretty well done. The story, it didn't make me disappointed, to say the least. For those who didn't like it, I understand. I get it. I can see why people didn't like it. But it was fun. To me, it was a fun ride, and it was definitely worth it for me. If you guys have watched the film, let me know in the comment section below. What did you guys think about it? And if you didn't like it, please tell me why you didn't like it. Like, explain. Don't just say, oh, movie's trash or whatever. Like, be a little bit more constructive, I guess, right? That'd be great. I know this video's gone for longer than I intended. It's not really a review. It's more me getting my thoughts out there. But, yeah. I had a great time with it. Really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will have a good one. Take care, and as always, keep on keeping on.